Croatia plans to reintroduce mandatory military service in 2025. Croatia last had mandatory military service in 2008, but since interest has really waned over the years. To address this shortfall and ensure military preparedness in Croatia, the government has decided to re-implement mandatory military service starting on January 1st, 2025. The Ministry of Defense is currently drafting a new law which is expected to pass in the Parliament Sabor soon. We already know a lot about the program. The government has put out lots of details, but there still are some open questions. So in this video, I'm going to tell you everything that we know, as well as a list of all the questions of what they have not shared with us yet. In this video, we're going to go over why are they doing this? Who exactly is going to be drafted? Can you do a deferral of service? Can you conscientiously object? Where will the military service happen? What will the military training look like? Will there be any compensation? And then lastly, we will go over all the open questions and hopefully we'll get answers in the coming weeks. First, why are they doing this? Well, in 2021, Croatia only had 150 recruits. And in 2022, they only had 402. That is far below the annual quota of 1,000 recruits. That is what they have determined that they need to be able to keep up the military to the level that is necessary. Croatia must be able to protect itself. So it makes sense that if they have such a deficit in their need, why they would want to take action at this stage. Who will be drafted? Well, right now, this is only going to apply to men. So about 18,000 Croatian men turn 18 every single year. Now, they won't all be called up at once. They're expecting to only call up about 4,000 to 4,500 recruits at any given time. Now, the upper age limit is still unknown. Now, at this stage, women will still not be required to do mandatory military service. There aren't a whole lot of benefits to being a woman, but I suppose this is one of them. We are the more delicate and fairer sex. Now, recruits will be required to perform and pass a medical exam. This is going to include an examination of your family doctor, an examination by a dentist. You're also going to have to do anthropometric measurements. They're going to look at all of your medical records, and you will have to do a psychological test. Who can defer their service? So if you are going straight to college after high school, then you can defer your service while you pursue higher education until such point that you graduate. Higher education is not going to get you out of military service. It's only going to postpone it. So if you want, you could just go and get the military service over with and then go on to college and move on with the rest of your life. Can you object to military service? Yes, you can. So in Article 47 of the Constitution of the Republic of Croatia, it does state that people can conscientiously, that is a hard word, you can conscientiously object to military service, but you still have to serve the Republic of Croatia in some way. So if you decide that you don't want to handle guns, for example, then instead of military service, you will be required to do civil service. But what you do need to understand about that is that the civil service will be for twice as long as the military service. So if the military service is only 2 months, then civil service would be 4 months. Where will the military training take place? Well, it will take place in one of 3 facilities, Požega, Knin, and Sin. What will the training look like? So the mandatory military training is going to include both theoretical and practical aspects. So you'll be educated on military doctrine as well as the handling and shooting of firearms. Now, the Croatian government hasn't decided the exact length of service there's going to be, but they have so far proposed 2 different models, either 2 months or 3 months. For 2 months service, it will include basic training that will include marksman skills. For 3 months service, it will include the basic training plus 1 month of specialized training, like if you're going to be a gunner in the Army. Now, the civil service is going to be coordinated by the Ministry of the Interior, Civil Protection, and local and regional governments. And if you don't already know, the Ministry of the Interior is MUP, which includes the police. Tasks for civil service members will include infrastructure projects, social protection, disaster training, and first aid, which are all great skills for us to have. Will you be compensated for your service? We don't know yet. They have not defined this. Now, right now, as a volunteer service member, you get 900 euros per month, so we're expecting it to probably be less than that, although your accommodation, food, allowances, and equipment will all be covered. This brings us to open questions, of which there are many. Now, the biggest question is, will Croatian citizens living abroad be required to return to Croatia to serve in the military? That's a pretty big question. I kind of wish they had already answered this, because we are getting so many questions from Croatian diaspora on this topic. And it's a very important question. I understand why they would be concerned, especially if their young sons don't speak Croatian. Like, what does that look like? So we have actually requested a decision on this from the Ministry of Defense, and as soon as we get an answer, we will scream it from the mountaintops. But that is the biggest question right now. I will say this, we have spoken to many lawyers on the subject, and while they can only speculate based on their knowledge of the law, they don't anticipate that Croatia is going to force Croatian citizens abroad to return to Croatia for military service. Here are the other open questions. So at what age will you no longer be subject to military service? Will recruits serve the military or civil service at a location that is closest to their residence? How long can someone defer their military service or civil service for higher education? How long will the military or civil service last? Are there any additional exceptions to military service other than the civil service? Can recruits decide which part of the civil or military service that they partake in? My guess is no, but we'll see. If you already work in the Ministry of the Interior, do you still have to serve in the military or civil service? Is the military service ever going to be obligatory for women? What will the compensation be for military and civil service? Will you get paid leave from your job if you're drafted? And will there be any protection so that you don't lose your job if you're drafted? If you have dual citizenship and you have already served in the military in a foreign country, can you still serve for the military in Croatia? Will there be any professional benefits to serving in the military? So those are our biggest questions. I'm curious what your biggest questions are. Is there anything we have not covered in this video or listed in this list of open questions that you want to know? If so, drop it down below in the comments so we can get some answers for you. As we find answers to these questions, we will update our guide on expatinCroatia.com. If you'd like to find a link to that, we've put it down in the video description for you. In addition to updating that post, we will also publish updates in our Tuesday newsletter. That way you will not miss anything. So if you have not yet subscribed, it's a great newsletter. It only comes out on Tuesdays. We don't bug you any other time of the week. And there's no spam. Yay! So you can find a link to subscribe down in the video description. Expat in Croatia is dedicated to keeping you up to date on anything that is actionable to your life that will impact you in Croatia. So if you have not yet, follow our YouTube channel, because this is where we talk about big, major news items. And then smaller, actionable ones, we always put in the newsletter every week. If this is the first video you've watched of Expat in Croatia, let me introduce ourselves. So Expat in Croatia has been around from 2013, and we help people live in Croatia. That's the simple part about it, but let me explain a little bit more. So we have a site with more than 500 detailed, fact-checked, thorough step-by-step guides on Croatian bureaucracy, culture, and language. We help Croatian citizens come back to the country. We help Croatian citizens living in the country, and we also help foreigners who wish to come and live in Croatia as well, to make everything as simple as reality will allow. We are experts in bureaucracy. That's what we do. We read the laws all the time, and whenever there is something that's going to impact your life in an actionable way, we share it in the newsletter, we share it here on the YouTube channel, we share it across our social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. So you can also follow us in those places as well. We have a vetted network of professionals, including lawyers, tax advisors, accountants, translators. So anything that you need, we can hook you up with someone who has a solid reputation, who's trustworthy, and is not going to share your information with your cousin. And aside from that, we also offer relocation services. So if you are moving to Croatia and you need help settling down, finding a place to live, enrolling your kids in school, finding activities, finding a doctor, we can help you with all of that as well. So you can find more about us at expatincroatia.com. There are some links down below in the description that will point you in the right direction. Thank you so much for watching this video. Follow us to find out more things happening in Croatia. And in the meantime, vidimo se!